Should you increase your training volume, the number of sets that you're performing per muscle group per week, the longer you've been working out? This has been a topic I've covered multiple times in the past, and my school of thought has been that yes, you should increase your training volume over time because your body adapts to the training stimulus. If you want to give your body a reason to grow, you need to challenge it. You need to dig deep and step outside of your comfort zone. This is a sentiment that has been echoed by Lane Norton recently, who shared that he's in the gym 5 days per week, training for 2+ hours each session, resting for long periods of time, really allowing his body to fully recover between sets so he can give the best of himself to each set that he's performing. Now, I met up with Lane at the Arnold Classic this year and I asked him how much muscle he's been able to gain in recent years, over the age of 40 with 20+ years of lifting experience under his belt. He said, none. So I guess my question now is that if you're not really gaining any muscle, is it necessary to perform that much volume, or would your time be better spent doing other things? I don't know. We got Paul Carter on the other end of the spectrum who speaks against high volume training. He's more of a low volume training proponent, following more of the Mike Mentzer, Dorian Yates approach, where it's like one top set to all out crushing failure, more focused on mechanical tension than volume itself as a driving force for muscle gains. But Paul himself really isn't gaining much muscle at this point. He's come out and said that after 10 years of lifting experience, you've reached your genetic muscular potential. He said maybe it's even 7 years at that point. Christian Thibodeau, another low volume guy, again, really not gaining much muscle at this point. Myself personally, I'm kind of in the middle. I'll perform a low volume training phase and then ramp up the volume each month till I get to a high volume training phase, and then I pull it back to allow the fatigue to dissipate from my muscles, my joints, my muscles to fully recover, and my muscles to respond, resensitize to the training stimulus. Again, for me at this stage of the game, it's a game of ounces. Like, I'm lucky if I'm gaining about a pound per year at this stage in the game. So all of us advanced lifters, all knowledgeable in our experiences, not really gaining much muscle no matter what kind of training volume we are performing. It really comes down to listening to our bodies, your own personal experiences, much as Alberto Nunes has shared recently. Again, based on his experiences, he realized that he's not gaining muscle at this stage in the game. So why perform high volume? He's now cut it back. He's only training 3 days per week, performing 6 sets per muscle group per week. And that's in spite of what the evidence, the research says that we should be performing between 10 and 20 sets per muscle group per week. But Alberto recognizes that we gotta take that research with a grain of salt, that the subjects are likely much different than us. Who knows how close they're actually performing to true momentary muscular failure? What are their lifestyles like outside of this study that they're performing here? So he's using that kind of research to guide him as we have ourselves. He perform that 10 to 20 sets, see how our body responds, and then recognize, you know what, I might be better off doing less at this stage of the game. So that's what's suiting him best, and I'm in the same boat here, really paying attention to, I used to do a lot of high volume training. I loved being in the gym 90 minutes plus each training session with my bros there, but really recognizing that I was kind of pacing myself through those workouts there. I was leaving like 3 to 4 reps in reserve for the first set, maybe 1 to 2 reps in reserve for the second set, and then my last set was all out failure. But even I questioned how much I was pushing to failure. Even asking my workout partners at the time, you can kind of tell we're pacing ourselves, seeing like it looks so daunting knowing that we've got so many exercises, so many sets still ahead of us there. So I recognized that it served its purpose at a time. I enjoyed it. It worked for me. Nothing wrong, nothing against it. But now I'm responding much better to doing less sets, less exercises per workout, but really crushing every single set. I leave no more than 1 rep in reserve for every single set that I'm performing. Typically, it's the first set, I'll leave 1 rep in reserve. Second and third set, I'm going to all out true momentary muscular failure. So I don't need to do as many exercises or sets to get the same kind of training effect. And I'm in and out of the gym in 45 to 60 minutes. So I find that I'm able to maintain my mental focus, my enthusiasm towards training, because my workouts are shorter as opposed to longer workouts. I was in the gym for 2 hours. That last hour, I wouldn't be able to give as much of myself mentally to each set that I was performing at the stage. So taking those kinds of things into consideration there. But I had a great conversation in the Jack at 40 Club recently. Lee asked a question if he could add a bicep exercise to the pull workout and a tricep exercise to the push workout, because we're only doing 1 exercise, 3 sets for biceps, 3 sets for triceps per muscle group per week at this stage in the game. Mind you, that's direct work. They are getting worked with the biceps are being worked with all the pull exercises, the triceps are being worked with the push exercises. So they're getting more stimulus than that. I'm like, yeah, sure, there's nothing wrong with adding a bicep exercise and a tricep exercise to your workouts there. Just ask yourself, like, why are you doing this? Do you actually need it, or do you just want to do it? Are you just kind of addicted to the training stimulus? Are you doing it because you see that the research says you need to do 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week? Or are you just fine doing that? Rather than adding more to your training session, can you give more of yourself to what you're actually doing with these exercises and with the sets that we have? And rather than adding a whole exercise, why not just add a set? Try 4 sets instead of 3. 5 sets. If you still find that you're recovering well and you think that you need more in order to benefit from it for your body to improve, add another exercise at that point. It doesn't matter what works for me, what works for Lane, what works for Paul, what works for Alberto, what works for Christian. It doesn't even matter what the research says. Use that research as a guiding post. What matters more is that you're paying attention to how your body's responding. You experiment with the high volume, the low volume, the in-between volumes. See what suits you best. And if you really notice no difference between any of the training volumes, you really got to think to yourself, like, what suits my lifestyle best as well? Because yeah, if your goal is the sole purpose of trying to squeeze out every ounce of muscle gains that you can experience in your lifetime, and you want to spend 2 hours in the gym 5 days per week or 6 days per week, if that's all that matters to you, fantastic, like, go for it. But recognize that you're going to have to make some sacrifices in life. You're not going to be able to do some other activities that you enjoy. Maybe not spend as much time with your family and friends because you're spending more time in the gym just to fight for ounces of muscle gain over your lifetime there. So for myself personally, like, I've enjoyed cutting the training volume down. And again, I wouldn't really necessarily say it's less volume because I'm getting more effective reps from each training session because I'm training closer to failure. And I find I'm recovering really well from that as well. It's been a great experience overall, getting in and out and really knowing that I gave the absolute best of myself to each training session. So that's been a big reason for it. But I've really cut back to 4 days of training as opposed to like 5 to 6 days of training per week. Not because I think it's better for muscle gains, but because there's other activities I enjoy. I am hooked on yoga right now. So I'm doing yoga like 6, sometimes 7 days per week, working on a lot of balancing poses like handstands. I really want to master the handstand there. I'm really realizing that, yeah, I can do a shoulder press with a lot of weight, but it's difficult to hold my body up in that position there. Recognizing, like, with that dumbbell shoulder press, elbows are tucked and I'm leaned back a bit and the dumbbells are in front of me here. Whereas with a handstand, I'm feeling a bit weaker because I'm not used to developing strength. My arms directly above my head. So it's a whole different kind of, I guess you could say, functional strength, but it's just developing strength in all aspects, all range of motions with my body and really having fun. Plus the advantages of improving upon my mobility and my flexibility, which carry over into my weight training sessions. Like, I feel my leg workouts are so much better because I'm more mobile, more flexible, with my hips and everything like that. So there is a lot of carryover. I'm a lot of benefit of reducing the number of weight training days and adding more yoga days in there because they kind of feed off of each other. Plus, I want to get out and live my life to the fullest. I want to be doing some paddleboarding, some biking, walks out with Chief, with my family through the woods, doing things that bring great joy to my life outside of the gym. There's so much more to life. I got a business to run as well. There's so many things that I want to accomplish in a day, and just spending 2 hours in the gym just doesn't appeal to me. So again, that's a sacrifice I have to make. Like, if solely dedicating my time to weight training is the key to maximizing muscle gains, I'm kind of sacrificing ounces here and there just to live my life to the fullest, which is way more important to me. So those are my thoughts on training volume. Should you be increasing it over time? I think it gets to the point where, like, yeah, if you're a beginner, you increase your training volume to intermediate. So like 1 to 5 years, you're increasing your training volume. Maybe 5 to 10 years, you're still trying to increase that training volume. But then, like, when does it become kind of detrimental to your gains? Like, when is it not really necessary when do you reach that point where digging deep and trying to do more and more and more and more becomes more detrimental? It starts to beat you down. You start feeling a little bit more achy, and you start to recognize some negative side effects there. Because I think, like, Lane uses the example of sports. Like, if you want to be the best at your game, you got to dig deeper, push harder. Well, sports, we all reach that point where, for a lot of these guys, it's like 30s and 40s where you reach that peak level, and digging deeper anymore, as you're digging deeper and deeper and deeper, it's not so good at this point. You start getting yourself beat up. You see a lot of these retired athletes like hobbling around because they told that this digging deep has taken on their body. So I think that's why you see a lot of people talk about, like, for training over 40, you should be doing less than more. But I say more quality, more effort with the less. It's not just a matter of doing less, but giving more to that training session, but not beating yourself up in the process there. So again, I think that's why we got to focus on what is best for us. Pay attention to our body. Don't just stick with the research. Don't stick with what's someone who's fairly new to training compared to someone who's got 20, 30 plus years of lifting experience under your belt, and realizing the wear and tear that takes on your body there. You got to take all these things into consideration. There's so many nuances, so many caveats to consider when it comes to the training volume that you're performing. But again, I think for most of us, we're not trying to compete as Mr. Olympia here. We want to look our best, feel our best, and live our lives to the fullest. We want our training to complement our lifestyle, not take away from our lifestyle. Really taking all those things into consideration when it comes to training volume. So those are my thoughts on it. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that alert button so you're notified each time I upload a video. If you know a fellow bro who would benefit from watching today's video, please do me a favor and share it with them. But more than anything, I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section below. Share your thoughts, share your insights, share your feedback, and your own personal experiences. What have your experiences been with different training volumes? What do you find that your body responds to? And as you're aging, the more years of training experience under your belt, do you find that you're better off ramping things up? Or are you finding that you're tapering things down right now and doing more quality work rather than quantity of work? So really looking forward to hearing from your experiences so we can all learn and grow together. And before you go, don't forget to download your free guide, Lose Fat, Get Jacked. Have yourself an amazing day. Catch you next video.